All right. So, Stephen, we just want to thank you so much for joining us here for this interview and for your time. We know that you're a busy guy. And so we just wanted to give our members a chance to get to know you a little bit. And we're grateful for that opportunity. We have Lonnie Campbell, our chamber president here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to him for just a second.
All right, Stephen, thanks again for joining us. As you know, the Chamber of Commerce has the interest of the business in Moab at heart. So we've formulated 5 questions that we're going to give you 2 minutes to answer each question or less. They're all business related. We hope that your answers will be driven towards business community. So try to keep that in mind as you're answering them, that we are looking for answers that maybe our business community could be interested in. With that, would you like to just take a few extra minutes before we get started to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Stephen Stocks. I'm an attorney by trade. That's what I do in my day job. And you've caught me today in between court hearings. That's why suit and tie. Don't worry, I'm wearing shorts. You just can't see them. I'm from the community. I grew up here. I went to the University of Utah. I spent a good amount of time in Lima, Peru, and that's where my wife's from. I speak fluent Spanish. Went to law school in Kansas, and I came back and I opened my own practice, my own law firm. I've done that for the past 5 years. We're going on to 6 years, and I've enjoyed it. It's phenomenal to be in a small town. I know that anybody that lives in Moab can tell you this. It's great to be able to go run errands and do all the little things in life and do so in 5 or 10 minutes. And that's great. You don't have to strategically plan out logistics to be able to run to the store and to do everything else. So I love Moab. A couple of the goals that I have for my candidacy are this. Number one, transparency. I think that we need to have more transparency and we need to invite everybody to the table. The mayor and the position for the mayor is important to remember that it is not a policy maker. And that means that you don't normally vote on policy decisions. Instead, you're a liaison between the community. You're going to talk to everybody, the most conservative and the most progressive person and everybody in between. And as an attorney, I'm uniquely qualified to do this. My goal is to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to be heard and I can listen to everybody. And that's what the training that I have as an attorney, is that I'm a skilled negotiator and I can help everybody work together. I foresee people being involved in the community and being able to reach out to me. And so that's why I encourage people to do that. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, you're on mute, Lacey.
Thank you. All right. We are going to go ahead and start then with the questions. I posted those in your chat that you can refer to as we go along here. And then I've got the timer for your 2 minutes. So first question is, what role do you think our local government should play in the growth and development of local business?
So first and foremost, what the local government does is, I like to break this up into the different parts. We've got the county government, we've got the city government, and then within the city government, you have the actual staff of the city, and then you have the mayor and the city council members. Like I said before, the mayor is a non-policy driven individual, and your council members, those are the 5 that get to vote on the day-to-day tax issues, zoning issues, and the like. The mayor instead is a position of being able to be a liaison between all the different members of the community. Our local government should promote growth in the sense that they should reach out to the businesses and provide services. The county provides a good amount of resources with the economic development section, and they interlay those things with, like USU. I don't know if you know Beth McHugh from USU. She helped promote Small Business Association. The government also is tasked with managing how much money the government has coming into it. So right now, our taxes are based predominantly on the sales tax and the TRT tax. That is TRT tax is money that comes from the transient room tax. when you have money coming in from, let's say, tourism, for example, you need to know how to manage the amount that you're being paid in, and you need to be able to help those businesses not fail. And so the city, we've seen last year with some of the CARE funds, the city was actually able to reach out and to provide some sort for the businesses. But I think the growth and the development of local businesses, it's going to be a mix between the market running forces and government providing some assistance, education. But at the end of the day, the government's not going to be the one that creates the businesses itself. And the government, that's not necessarily the government's role in my mind to create business. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Second question. Given the recent budget deficit discussions at the city, what are your ideas on how to optimize the budget to benefit our community now, as well as set us up for the future?
So the budget, the recent discussions that we had a new finance director come on board, and the first thought that they had was to instantly raise taxes. The concerns I have with the budget discussions that they've been having is the discussion hasn't focused on the things that I would probably focus on. We need to look at the salaries that are getting paid out. I think it's a shocking number for most that the city manager is getting paid, or was getting paid, $166,000 plus about $75,000 in benefits. The total package was roughly $250,000. We need to look where we can save some money and how we can focus on having funds go to the right place. On the tax discussion, we wanted to raise, or not we, the city of Moab wanted to raise taxes. And when they looked to raise taxes, they didn't want to earmark it for specific things. Instead, they wanted to raise the coffers of the city bank accounts. In my mind, if we're going to spend money, we should have it being spent on things that help the community. I, for one, don't believe that the city police cars need to have specialized decals that cost more money when the word police would suffice. I think that the city is spending money on perhaps overheads that don't need, or overhead management doesn't necessarily need to have the amount of salaries that are being paid and the level of amount of different positions that are in the city. There seems to be a lot of overhead, and I would look for opportunities to cut and reduce that budget where possible. I think the city infrastructure needs some help. The Biden administration is going to put together an infrastructure bill that's going to provide the opportunity for cities like Moab, Utah to reach out and get additional grant funds. Using those grant funds from the Biden administration's infrastructure bill, that should be able to help focus on some of the local assistance that we need on sewers, city road maintenance, and other projects like that. That's what I'd focus on.
Thank you. All right, third question. In the business community, we are seeing similar problems with commercial space as residential in terms of affordability and availability, making it difficult for new and or diversified businesses to establish themselves. What are your thoughts on possible solutions for this?
Now, depending on the type of business, I don't know if you can tell, I am currently in my home office. There's a lot of professionals in the community that can utilize home office space. I think that's something that's currently permitted by the city. There'll be, it really depends on what kind of commercial space you're looking at. If you're looking at larger commercial spaces for manufacturing, there's limited availability for that. And if zoning permits hotels, for example, people are going to price them differently based on that zoning. So I'm not necessarily saying that you should or you shouldn't zone for a particular thing, but at the end, you need to understand that that impacts the value that each piece of real property has for its value. It is difficult to come into Moab. There are some places that are available for small offices, and there's less places that are available for, you know, rental businesses, but the amount of space on Main Street is limited. We're starting to see the businesses start to grow south a little bit. There's a bit of commercial space that's between McDonald's and Los Gilbertos. There's that space there that's starting to be developed. I think we're trying some solutions out in the valley. They have the business parks. So I think there's opportunities for the commercial space, but you can't make new land in Moab. we're between two canyon walls. And because of that, I would encourage people to look at possible solutions in the residential communities as long as they're living in those spaces. But you can't just create new land. And so I'd focus on the places that we have available now. And you're also going to look in Spanish Valley, and that's a whole different discussion, but that goes into San Juan. They're going to have to figure out what desire for commercial space out there will be as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Question number 4. In our city, there are divides between opinions, particularly around our economy. How have you found compromise and built unity in the past? How do you plan on doing that in the future, specifically with the economic growth of Moab?
So my entire practice is, my entire work that I do is compromise and building unity. I represent a lot of people in child custody cases, divorces, and that is one of those few opportunities where you have two people that are not business partners, but they're partners in raising a child, which is exceptionally connected. And you have to learn how to compromise with somebody that's on the opposite issue, and yet you share a child together. And that's similar in the community of Moab. You've got many individuals that regardless of what's going to happen, they're going to be residents of Moab. And so you need to focus on the concrete benefits that living in the city of Moab has, and you work together to address that. Going to the second part is how you specifically do that, looking at the growth of Moab, Utah. And what a lot of people would like to see is selecting individual tourists that are going to be coming to the area that are going to be quality tourists instead of quantity tourists. Example of that would be somebody that'd be coming into the community and spending a good amount of money and having one person spend the same amount as 10. And that's possible to do that. If you're going to look at how to find viable options that bridges the gap between those that don't want tourists and those that want tourists, reducing the total overall number of visitors without reducing the amount of money that they spend, that's going to be the goal that everyone would like. How do you do that? You communicate. You bring all the party makers, the decision makers, and the policy makers to the table. City council, again, is going to be the person that does the actual voting. And so you need city council members that are open to that discussion, whereas a mayor is a liaison. The mayor is the person that can grab anybody from nonprofit to city staff to business owners to individuals in the community and bring everybody together for a conversation and ultimately compromise when possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last question, number 5. Economic diversification of Moab's tourism-based economy has been a topic of many local government discussions. What would your approach to diversification be in relation to the current established industry?
So diversification is a tricky word in the sense that Moab's economy is heavily based on tourism. And unless you're looking at a long-term goal, we're not going to see exceptional diversification away from tourism overnight. The amount of jobs that you would need to create with a new industry would be an exceptionally large number of jobs. And you look at who, what are the largest employers in Moab right now? You've got probably Grand County, the regional hospital, City Market, the city of Moab, and a handful of other, maybe Synergy, Glow-Germ, Lisbon Valley Mine. Apart from that, we don't have a lot of major different businesses in the community. Moab's located in a logistical nightmare. We're in the middle of nowhere. That makes it difficult also to transport things in and out. So we have a lot of tourism, and that's a lot of the money that comes into the community. If we're going to start to expand out to other things, we have to incentivize business owners to come here, or we have to incentivize people to come take the risk. As you mentioned previously in one of the other questions, real estate is expensive. And real estate is expensive, makes it harder for new businesses to come in here. And a lot of them look at nightly rentals as the only thing that can justify the amount of money that's being spent per square foot on commercial property. So my focus would be having a conversation with businesses or communities that we'd like to bring in. If you want to have a realistic conversation about remote work, then you need to reach out to the employers that allow or permit remote work. Patagonia, if Patagonia wanted to do remote work, that type of culture that corporation has is outdoors. reach out to Patagonia, reach out to, outfitters that work in this area and say, hey, look, we can have great ideas. You want to do remote work in Moab, Utah, and that fits your corporate culture, or that fits whatever investor culture, you reach out to them. That's something that America can do. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to turn the time back over to Lonnie for a bonus question.
All right, Stephen, we got one last question for you. In a minute or less, tell us why the business community should vote for you.
So the reason why the business community should consider me is I'm a negotiator, and I'm somebody with the capability of communicating with everybody. I've worked with a lot of members of the community through my work as an attorney, and I've interacted and met more by living in the community since I was young. I'm a viable pick for mayor because I can bridge the gap between all of the different players. And I'm somebody that would promote transparency and involving everybody. I think that's been a concern as of late, that people don't have the opportunity, don't feel like they can be heard if they stand outside the desired political makeup. And that's something that's really important for me. I'm an independent. I'm not somebody that's picked sides, and I run my own campaign. I don't take donations. My goal is just to be me. I'd love for you to consider me. I'm not going to tell you how to vote and what order to rank people, but I'm just me. I don't sugarcoat things, and that's kind of who I've been and what I was raised to be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for your time. We know that that you've got a lot going on, and we appreciate giving some of that time to us and to our members to get to know you. And I will let you know when we've got these out for everybody to see. And if you have any questions for me, you can always reach out.
Excellent. I appreciate you folks for setting this up and giving us another opportunity to chat, and hopefully all is well.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All right.
Steve.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Steve.
Have a good day.
Bye.